So my name is Vica Love. I am 27 years old and I am from Queens, New York.
What do you do for work up in Queens?
I do a lot. So I'm a nurse full time, but I'm also on medical leave at the same time. So that's that. And then I'm also in the military. I'm in the Air Force National Guard. And then I do some acting and modeling and singing here and there. And I also work at a gymnastics center per diem as well.
Do a lot. Well, first, thank you for your service in the military and as a nurse. Obviously, those are both helping the community, helping America. Those are not easy. I have a sister that's a nurse. I have a brother-in-law and sister-in-law that are in the medical field. It's not an easy industry to be in. So
Yeah.
And so how long have you been doing that? I guess all the different things.
So the military since 2020, a nurse, January was when I started working as a nurse. The gymnastics job since 2014, and the acting, modeling, and singing about 2018, because that's when I got signed with my managers.
How much are you making a year?
So I would say it varies, to be honest with you. From the gymnastics job, like I said, it's per diem. So I think the most I might have made in 1 year was like 2,000 or 3,000, and that was just because I was working it more. But it's usually like weekend jobs because I would do like birthday parties at the gymnastics center. For the military, it's about, I want to say 3,000 or 4,000 a year, just because I am National Guard. So that's kind of like part-time, I guess you could call it. It's usually 1 weekend out of each month, or it just depends. If they need you, then they'll call you. But about maybe 3,000 or 4,000 for the year. For nursing, like I said, I started in January. If I wasn't on medical leave, then I would be set to make between like about 97 to 100K.
Okay. Wow. That's great salary. I mean, obviously you can pick up a lot of overtime shifts.
Yeah.
Are you a night shift nurse or do you do day shift?
I was hired night shift. I've only done a couple days night shift before my medical leave started. So before that, I was doing day shift, but I was hired for night.
Okay. So when you're back working full-time, you should be making 100K as a nurse, doing night shift, acting, modeling, singing. What's the income on those?
So that one really just varies. It depends on what I book. So it could range from a couple hundred to a couple thousand. Like I said, it really just depends on what I book.
What would your ballpark be on an annual basis?
Well, last year I made maybe 1,500 from it, but I was also kind of like on a leave from it a little bit, just because I was trying to finish up nursing school and pass my boards and all that stuff. The year prior, 2020, so the most I probably made in a year from it thus far has to be like maybe $4,000 or $5,000.
Okay. So safe to say, should be over $100,000 a year when you're back. Is there a timeline right now getting back off of medical leave and working back full time?
I wish I knew. I've been on medical leave since the end of April. They're still trying to figure out what's going on with me and getting me a diagnosis.
Okay. So there's not really a timeline to be able to get back to work or anything right now.
But like I said, like everyone, it's been getting extended because they're just trying to figure out what's going on with me and why I'm having my symptoms, basically.
Are you comfortable sharing what those are?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, I don't mind. So basically I've been having chronic fatigue, shortness of breath, lightheadedness. Sometimes I have weakness, and like the level of severity varies basically from day to day. In April, when I went on medical leave, I was having it like more severely. I don't know if it's because I switched over to night shift and my body was just like not adjusting properly, because I was having the symptoms before when I was on day shift. It just wasn't as intense until then. And it was like every week I was going to the ER. Like my last hospital visit was April 26th, whichever that last Sunday was. I was at the hospital putting up fluids. I work in the ICU, the neonatal ICU. So I was putting up fluids for the babies. And then out of nowhere, I got very lightheaded. And my preceptor that I was working with, I guess she saw the look on my face and she told me to go sit down. And then I got extremely short of breath. She was asking if I wanted her to call a rapid response, which is like basically like people from the ER coming and rushing to you and giving you like help, basically. And I said yes. Usually I would say no, but like that day just felt different. Like I said, I got extremely lightheaded, very short of breath. That day, my hand started going numb as well, which was a different symptom for me. And I just remember like a bunch of people rushing into the room, but I was like trying to focus on like breathing. And I was telling them like I need oxygen. And like I said, I work in the neonatal ICU, so with babies. So they had to like take this, I guess the suction that we use on the babies, but she took the suction part off and just had me turn my head towards, I guess, the air that was coming out of the wall to try to get some type of oxygen into me until the rapid response people came to actually put oxygen on me and then take me to the ER. But like since then, like I've just been on medical leave from the job, and it's been making it harder with my finances.
Yep. Can definitely understand that. I'm assuming it's not paid medical leave.
It's paid. It's just like less than half my paycheck. So it's a struggle. Like I literally have enough to pay for rent and like maybe one of my loans that I have. Then I have like extra little stuff here and there, but just doesn't feel like enough.
What's your total, I guess, net take home pay on the medical pay right now, medical leave pay?
It's about, I should have brought this stuff with me, under like $2,400 for just the medical leave pay. And then the military, they've given me a couple months off. But then there's like little change of the last time I went, and then for this past month of like $11, which is nothing. Like that's like a small takeout meal for me or something.
Okay, so right now medical pay we have $2,400, and then military basically nothing right now.
Basically.
Okay, and is there any other income coming in right now during this time period or no?
For this month in particular, my brother, he had owed me a couple grand from a couple years ago, and I was like let him in, telling him that I'm literally struggling. Like, can you start paying me back? So he gave me $500 this month. And then another $500 that I'll get at the end of the week. So that's definitely been helping a lot. And then for my medical leave, I was told I just can't work through the hospital system that I work with, but I could try to find another job. So I got like a school nursing job per diem, since it's a lot less stress. And like I said, I could tell them when I could work. So I did a couple shifts of that for like 4 hours, 4 days this month. So I had an extra $280 come in last week for that, and then I'll have another $280-ish coming in at the end of this week for that.
Okay, so you're making about $70 a day when you're doing the school nursing gig.
I'm sorry, say it again?
You're doing about $70 a day per school nursing gig that you're doing right now?
It's like about 100 something each day, but then they take off taxes. It should be like 3 something, but they took off taxes. So
okay, so after taxes, $280 for 4 days is $70 a day net take on pay, basically.
Oh, okay.
And do you think you'll be able to keep that up, doing that weekly, or?
I mean, it depends on if they have stuff available. Like next week, I'm doing 3 days at an elementary school, and then the week after 2 days, and then after that, I don't know. It just depends on what they have available, or if they have a need for me for that particular week or not.
Okay. So they're allowing you to do this while you're on medical leave. So we'll call it a low ball, $500 a month coming from that, basically 7 days out of the month, just to be on the conservative side. $2,400 for medical leave, and then your brother repayment. I don't know how long that'll go on for, but about $3,400 net take home pay basically right now.
Yeah.
But if you're working full time, we'd be about $6,000 plus, depending on how much overtime and stuff you take on, if we're assuming $100,000 a year for a nurse. So definitely a drastic cut right there. I mean, it's a little over 50%, but definitely can understand how that puts some strains on your financial situation. Let's go into that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your current financial situation? 1 being horrific, 10 being best ever.
5 maybe, I would say.
And why would you say that?
It's not the worst, because I could still pay my bills. I might suffer in other aspects, but I can still pay my bills. Like I make sure like none of my bills are not paid on time. It's not a 10 because I'm struggling, or I feel like I'm struggling every month, and have to like cut back on certain things, or just basically you just have to cut back on certain things like food, for example. So.
Okay, well, let's dive into some of those current debts then that we have on here. Do you know off the top of the head, or do you have everything in front of you, or do you want me to kind of read off the numbers I have that you sent over?
You could read them off.
Okay. So
I could try to find them, but you can read them off.
Current debts, we have personal loans, $14,610. What is that for?
So that one I took out back in 2021. At the time, I was in a relationship with someone. We since broke up, but we had moved in together, and I took out the loan to help us like on our feet more, I guess you could say. But he was supposed to help me pay it off, but it turned into me just paying off. I guess you would say he was being a bum and wasn't trying to get a job, basically.
Okay, so you took out a loan with you and partner at the time. What was the total loan amount?
It was for $20,200.
Okay, so originally 20. That is a big loan to take out to get on your feet. Were you working at the time?
I was. I was working as a pediatric CNA at the time.
And you just took out a $20,000 loan in one swoop. Just what did you spend that on?
Rent, food. About $2,000 of that, he needed his car fixed, so I gave it to him, expecting him to pay me back. So that never happened. I do plan on taking him to court because he owes me a lot of money. So yeah,
so that's
about $30,000.
Okay, he owes you about $30,000.
Yes, sir.
Oh wow.
I have all my documents together. The lawyer is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I might do small claims instead and just break it up because the lawyer is about almost as much as he owes me.
Oh wow. Okay. So personal loan, $22,000 or $20,000. It's got an interest rate of 15% on it. What kind of loan was this? Where'd you get it from?
My bank.
Your bank. 15% is it's not quite a credit card interest rate, but it's up there. And so your minimum payment on that is $480. And then we have student loans, $50,049. Are you aware student loans are resuming? Interest resumes October. September 1st and payments resume October?
I am.
Do you know what your minimum payment on the student loans are going to be?
I had looked the other day. I saw something that was like 100, maybe 80 something, unless I do income based. But I haven't fully looked into that. Like, I feel like I would need someone to talk through it with me to make, I guess, the right decision or see how to maneuver that, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's rolled out recently with the new SAVE plan and what that's going to be and how that's going to help kind of cap dollar amount so interest doesn't grow drastically for making the minimum payments. I can't talk too much to it because there's a lot of details that are still being figured out, but definitely should look at your options there. I'm a proponent of whatever you opt into is still get them paid off as quickly as possible. But in your situation, when you're on medical leave and your income is not where it should be, it's probably best to figure out what is the lowest minimum payment you can make where your balance is not ballooning. You don't want your balance to balloon, but if you can kind of have it, maintain it at one spot now, have lower minimum payments, that's going to help you until you get back on your feet there. Do you know what your interest rate is on those student loans?
When I had looked, it was like a whole bunch of different amounts. Some of them I took pictures. Some of them are about like 5%. One was like 2-something percent.
Okay. So
we got 3.7, 2.7, 2.7, 5, 4.4.
Okay.
It was just a different one.
Yeah. So anywhere from 2 to 5, which is on the good side. I mean, there's student loans that are 7 to 12% as well. And so being on the lower end, it definitely helps with interest payments. That also helps when it comes to prioritizing which debts you want to pay off first. When we kind of talk about that, we'll go into details there. But definitely something that needs to be on the docket with payments resuming in October, something to educate yourself on, learn what are your options there, especially while you're in this phase of medical leave right now. And then it looks like we have a lot of credit cards. We've got an American Express for $2,400. We have a Capital One for $500. We have a TD credit card for $7,500. Which is that with?
You said which one is this?
That's a TD Cash. Okay. $7,700 is that one. Or $7,400, sorry. Ashley Furniture, $5,000. And then we have another school, and those interest rates range around 25%, it looks like. And then we have a student loan, school student loan for $1,900. What is that from?
It was just from my school that I'm paying off right now.
Is that for nursing school?
Yeah.
Okay. And then one thing we don't have on here that I'm seeing that should be car loan.
So my mom pays that. Yeah.
Your mom pays that?
Yeah. So the payment, I think I put it as like a minus on the budget sheet just because I don't pay that. And then for the car insurance, she pays that as well. Yeah.
So we have mom pays the $277 in car insurance and mom pays the $428 in car payment.
Yeah.
Do you know what the total balance on that car loan is? Yeah, what the remaining balance is, or what was the original balance that you took out?
I want to say either 28 or 30. I think now I feel like the number coming to me is 19, but I could be wrong.
How long have you had the car loan for?
I got the car in 2018. At first, I was leasing it, and then I financed it in, I think it was 2020.
You had it for 3 years?
Or 2021.
And do you know what your interest rate is on it?
No.
How much did you put down when you bought it? If you put $3,000 down, we'll call it, you got $27,000 on a loan if it's $30,000 car. I mean, right now, yeah, you're probably in the ballpark of 15 to 20,000, depending on what the interest rate is. So we'll put 20,000 for now. What kind of car is it?
A Toyota RAV4 Adventure.
Toyota RAV4. And has your mom been paying that car payment since you got it?
Yep.
It's a nice mom there.
Yeah, it can be.
Is she aware of your current financial situation?
No, not necessarily. No, not at all. No.
Okay.
Like, she just knows that I'm having a hard time, kind of, but not really, if that makes sense. Like, I haven't necessarily told her just because she's like sick and she worries a lot.
And for context, is that a burden on her paying? That's between the car insurance and car payment, $705 a month. Is that a burden on her, or is she comfortable still stressing about? Is she stressing about paying that every single month, or is her financial situation in an okay spot?
She hasn't fully mentioned it. Like, if she didn't have to pay it, lifts burdens on her, of course. My plan was this year to take that burden off of her since I started working as a nurse. But then with the medical leave, that didn't end up happening. Because she has medical stuff of her own that she needs help with as well. So I feel bad, but I also don't know what to do. Yeah.
Okay. Definitely want to figure out and want to talk about how do we get you in a spot where you're taking that off your mom's plate because it's your car, your responsibility, you're in debt with that. Also don't want it to be a stressor to your mom. And I don't know the ins and outs of her financial situation, but we'll talk a little bit about what are some options there. How can we get yourself in a better situation? I mean, between the personal loans, the student loans, the credit cards, and the car payment, do you know what your total minimum monthly payments are on those? If we include the car payment in there?
You said including car payment?
Including the car payment, yes.
Oh, I know without the car payment, with me paying minimums plus rent, my bills would total up to about $3,100 or $3,200. So with that car payment stuff, then almost $4,000.
Yeah, basically $4,000 total is what we have on your budget sheet. $1,600 of that is the different debts. So personal loan, $480 a month. Student loans, if we count $180 plus the other $50, $230 there. Credit cards, we have about $472, and we have a car payment of $428. So $1,600 every single month to go in towards the minimums. Right now, in your current situation, that is majority of your take-home pay being on medical leave. So we'll kind of talk about some options with that. The other expenses I have we're going through all the debts. We have all the debt totals. So we have total debts of $82,000. Oh, no, that does not include the car payment. If we include the car payment with a balance of $20,000 left, we have $102,000 in debt. If we don't include the car payment, which I'm going to include the car payment, it's $82,000. So really your total debt is $102,000, which is a large number.
Yeah.
And then assets we have, it looks like about $1,000 in investments and $2,400 in your savings account.
Yeah.
Okay. So that brings total assets about $3,400 and brings net worth to just under negative $99,000. Does that scare you?
Yeah.
Because it scares me.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing is you're young and you got time on your side. Obviously going through some different things right now with health complications, but point of this show and why I'm glad you're on here is I want to talk about kind of what your options are, how can we get out of this, and figure out kind of what a plan is moving forward. And talk more about financial education, because I'm assuming based off of the $100,000 in debt, financial education wasn't something that they taught in your high school or taught in college, because it's not taught in the majority of schools. And I'm sure if you had been educated, hopefully, or taught a little bit more, then we wouldn't have found ourselves in this current situation.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Let's talk about your other monthly expenses then, because we have our total debts. We have a total debt payments about $1,600. Total expenses I'm seeing as rent is $1,550. Are you living by yourself in Queens, or do you have roommates?
I live by myself.
Live by yourself. Okay. And how long you been living by yourself for?
Last year.
Okay. And
November.
When does your lease end?
November.
Okay. And what's your current plan come November right now?
Well, as of right now, I guess I'm gonna have to stay, but I wanted to move out to a different place.
More expensive place?
I mean, it was gonna be a more expensive place, but if I could find something the same amount and still be able to move out, that'd be great. But then I also don't have enough for like the 3 payments they'd ask for. So first month, securities, and like broker fee.
Yeah.
So it makes the most sense to just stay, even though I'd rather move out.
Have you thought about any options when it comes to roommates?
There's only 1 bedroom.
I meant moving to a spot where you have roommates.
It crossed my mind once, but like I have a lot of furniture and my storage spot is like but so small and it's basically full. And I don't know, I feel like I'm just not really comfortable with that either.
Okay.
Like I did the roommate thing in college, like being in dorms, and I like being on my own.
I don't disagree. Not having a roommate is better, but given your current financial situation, we're gonna have to talk about how can we cut costs to figure out where some of this money coming, especially when you're living paycheck to paycheck right now on medical leave and don't have even any extra money to throw at this debt. So we'll talk a little bit more of that when it comes to options in a few minutes. But we have rent $1,550, utilities about $110, internet about $86. Under auto and transport, we have car insurance for $277, which is quite steep. Are you a speeder or you've gotten a lot of accidents? Car insurance, I think 77 and don't have any driving history.
I think there was one. Yeah, there was one like years ago, but that was like on my old car.
Have you shopped around your insurance anytime recently?
A couple years ago, I looked, and that was actually the cheapest, to be honest with you, and that's with a military discount as well. So
I would definitely shop that around more because, I mean, comparison, my wife and I, we pay I think $200 a month, and that's for both of our cars. And 2 cars, 2 drivers, we're paying 30% less than you are. So I definitely, I mean, there's a lot of good websites out there that you can shop around insurance. You can find a local insurance broker that can shop them for you. But that's what we did. We've shopped around a lot, and we cut our car insurance down like $100 a month by shopping around. So that's definitely something, an option that you should look at, because first glance, $277 seems quite high. If you had a lot of speeding tickets or a lot of wrecks, then that's definitely a reason for it to be that high. But with a Toyota RAV4, it's about a $20,000 car, I wouldn't assume it should be that high if you have a clean record. So car payment, $428. Again, your mom pays that, so $705 your mom's paying right now. And then gas, do you pay all the gas yourself, the $120 a month?
Most of the time, and then sometimes I'll tell my mom that I'm going to use her card for like maybe 2 like gas trips a month.
Okay.
It depends on the month and how bad the money's looking.
Okay. So right now, current financial situation, we won't include the car insurance and car payment. For the first calculation, we got $120 there for auto and transport, just gas. Groceries, you spend only $75 a month on groceries?
I told you I had to sacrifice something.
What do you eat? Ramen noodles for every meal?
No, but I also go to like a veterans pantry every Tuesday, so that helps with like getting like some food. And then I don't know, I also don't eat a lot. I don't know, like find a way to not have to spend so much, or like almost every Sunday I'll go to like one of my family members' house and they have like a family dinner every Sunday, and I'll probably like bring some leftovers home. Or like my best friend, sometimes she knows like my situation, so like she offers, like if she wants to go out, she'll offer to pay for a meal for me, and then a lot of times I'll have leftovers because I usually don't end up eating the whole thing.
Okay.
So it saves.
Not spending much more on the groceries, $75. And then we have the credit card payments, the student loan payments, personal loans. Brings our total, essentially necessities, payments that are going to recur every single month to about $3,100 a month. And then total fun money, as I call it, $20 a month eating out, $20 a month for health and fitness, $125 for personal care, and $30 a month for laundry. So that brings total payments to about $3,300 a month. And again, that doesn't include the car insurance or car payment. So if we were to add those in there, it'd bring you north of $4,000 a month, which if you're making a full-time salary, $6,000 net take-home pay, you could afford to live like this and throw $2,000 a month at your debt. But currently that's not our current situation in reality we're living in. So
that's what I was doing before.
Yeah.
But
so right now excluding the car payment and having $500 a month from the school nursing, $2,400 from medical leave, sit about $2,900, and total expense is about $3,300. So obviously student loans aren't resumed yet, so you have 30 days for that right now, but your total expenses are going to be $3,300 come a few weeks. So definitely have to figure out what are some options with that to start saving some money or start making more money. So we'll kind of go into your expenses and stuff. First glance, looking at these, the budget, the debts amounts, and if you were working full-time right now, making the $100K a year as a nurse, I'd probably put you in a situation, probably put you about a 4, maybe a 3.5. Given your current income level and current debts, I'd probably put you at a 1.5. 1.5 because I'm hoping that for your sake, just health-wise, that you're going to figure out what's your medical issues are right now. You can get back working full-time. And once you get back working full-time as a nurse, you can work hours and hours of overtime so you can get out of this situation. It's not going to be the quickest in the world, but you have a field that pays very well. If you're getting overtime at a time and a half, you're going to be picking up a lot of shifts and going to be able to make more than $100,000 a year. So right now, given your current situation, I'd put you at a 1.5 because it is a mountain of debt sitting at $102,000 and one that's going to be difficult to get out without getting our income up drastically.
Right.
But on the flip side, if you are out of medical leave and figure out what's wrong with you so you can go back to work, whether it's working day shifts or it's another nurse role that's a little less stressful and you're able to make $6,000 a month take-home pay, we're going to be able to find a clear path to get out of this debt. It's going to be take a couple of years, 24 months maybe, what that might look like, but there's at least a path to that with income. So that's where I put you right now. But I want to talk more about you and your financial upbringing in your childhood. So you grew up in Long Island. You said, what was your childhood like?
My childhood, I mean, overall was okay. I was very sheltered. I went to all public schools. My mom, in terms of money, she would say just like, don't spend a lot or live a simple life. I don't remember what my dad would say.
How did your parents approach money growing up? Like, what did they spend money on? What did you kind of learn from them and just how they acted?
So with my mom, I feel like she didn't usually go out a lot. She worked for Allstate. What did she spend it on? I feel like she always was trying. She was always trying to save money, from what I remember. And she would just say like, "Oh, I don't need that." Like, I feel like her mindset was that like she was broke. Like, she would always say like, "Oh, I can't spend that. I'm broke or whatever." But it's like, to me, it's like also you're speaking that onto you. Like, you're speaking, I guess, a broke life onto. I don't know. I feel like it was just her mindset. Granted, like her saving stuff was great, but I don't know. I feel like she could have done more to increase her income that was coming in. And then my dad, I didn't necessarily like, he was in my life, but I didn't like live with him. He lived in Florida for a majority of it. So I don't really know what he did for money. I know like he was like a jack of all trades. So he was like me. He did a lot of different things. But I don't know.
Did your mom talk to you about money much growing up?
Not from what I remember. Like, all I really remember her saying about money is don't spend your stuff. Don't spend your money on stuff you don't need. And she would always say, live a simple life. Don't spend too much. So that's pretty much
financial education wasn't a big thing in your house. And frankly, that's something in America and around the world. It's a very difficult and not talked about subject at home in homes because parents want to protect their kids if they're in bad financial situations of what those are. And then they're in good financial situations. They don't really want to be that open with their kids because kids might tell their friends or whatever might happen. And it's definitely something that's a very odd topic to talk about at home and frankly leads to a lack of education and finance in this world. In our schools don't talk about credit cards. They don't talk about student loans. They don't talk about any of this stuff and teach people, hey, this is the repercussions of taking out $100,000 of student loans, or hey, these are the repercussions if you max out a credit card when you're in college, and that interest rate's gonna just chase you for the rest of your life unless you pay it down quickly. And it's sad. And again, that's why starting this channel to help educate people more about money and people watching this. If you're watching this and you didn't have a personal finance class, or your parents didn't talk about money, hit the like and subscribe button because we're trying to help the world learn more about money. So, Vica, let's talk about college. Did you go to college and what did you study?
I did go to college. I studied nursing. It didn't start off like that. I knew I wanted to do nursing, but getting into the program was hard. So I went to social work for maybe a semester. I did well for that semester, but like something was still pulling me back to nursing. So I ended up switching back to nursing, but I still had like a love for social work. So it took a little longer than expected because I graduated from high school in 2014, but I didn't graduate college until last year.
That's
But I also had like
very
a
long
year
time.
and a half gap in between with the military and like going to training and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask because we're about the same age, but we graduated about 4 years later. I know some people do like 4 years of undergrad and then do nursing school after that. But I'm glad you've out in the real world and have had that degree and are a registered nurse now because, again, it's a high paying field.
Yeah.
What future financial goals do you have for yourself?
I mean, I would love to be financially stable, and I will be. I'm speaking to existence. I will be. I just need to get over this patch. But you said like financial goals, so like buying a house. I definitely want to have my own home. Would financial goals also be like kind of me having my own business and stuff? Or
Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to start my own business, a nonprofit. I don't know where the money's going to come from because I know it's going to cost a lot of money for the business I want to do.
What do you want to do?
At least I want to start like this sports entertainment complex. But like, I don't know, like how to explain. Like, I just know I need a lot of land. So I either need to find somewhere that's like big enough for what I see, or like I need to buy a good amount of land so to build it from the ground up.
That's not cheap in New York.
I know. So I was like, it's going to be a lot of money. So I'm like, I don't know where the money's going to come from, but it'll happen.
It's good to have those goals and aspirations and something to work towards and something to kind of give you the motivation to get out of your current financial situation. So you have something to build towards, something to shoot for and strive for. So
yeah.
Let's dive into current expenses and current accounts that you sent over. I know we have a plethora of accounts to go through, and we're going to dive right in and kind of see where different stuff is spending. So we can look at some different expenses. So this is, I think, a bank account. It looks like the first one ending balance. It looks like on August 25th, about $1,500 in there. There was
from TD.
It doesn't have a name on the account. It just shows there's 2 different Zelle payments.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it looks like a Walmart purchase, but the ending balance is $1,500. The TD Cash Visa signature card that has a balance of $7,460, and you paid $177 in interest for this last statement period. So minimum payment on that looks like to be $250.
It'll be $253 for next month.
Okay, $250 with $177 of interest every single month. So basically, it's going down by $80 on that payment, or not even really, $70. Where did all this debt come from? What were these purchases for $7,500?
So for that card in particular, because I know I had like maybe $2,000 debt on there prior to, but it was from living with my ex.
Okay.
That like it just started building up, and same thing with the Amex card. That debt was from living with my ex.
So this has been kind of recurring for the last 2 years. Like basically, you've had this debt?
Yeah.
Okay. So this year to date, you've spent or paid $1,400 in interest alone, which is no small amount. I mean, we're 8 months through the year basically at this point, and $1,400. Are you still using this card at all, or is it maxed out?
No, I have a couple of thousand like on it left before it'd be maxed out, but I haven't been using it because I wasn't trying to use it.
Yeah, don't.
No.
Basically, if you have, in your instance, we have a lot of credit card debt, but $15,000 with credit card debt. But credit cards, the only way you can use credit cards effectively is if you pay them off in full every single month and never carry a balance, because otherwise you can be paying hundreds of dollars in interest every single month, and there's no amount of rewards that will be worth keeping those because we have a 28% interest rate on this. So if you ever carry a balance on a credit card, if you ever do, credit cards should be cut up so you never can spend on them again. That's what I do in your instance. I mean, obviously you can't close an account because you owe $7,000, but cut up the credit card so you actually don't have the ability to ever swipe it again. We have the Amex for $2,400, and you said that one's been here for 2 years too.
Yeah. The extra $400 was added recently just because I was running low on a lot of stuff at home. I just sucked it up and just put the expense on the card.
I see that.
But before that, it would have been,
$410 on new charges, which again, I would cut this one up too, so you don't even have the ability to add more to it, because it's just going to put you in a worse situation, racking up. Because right now, you make the minimum payment on this, which is $73 a month, it's going to take you 10 years to pay off this credit card debt.
That wasn't the plan to do. Like, I try to give more for that one in particular. I give more than the minimum. For the Capital One, I give more than the minimum. Right now for the TD Bank, I give the minimum. I've been trying to pay off the Capital One and the Amex first, just because their interest rate is higher.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And we'll kind of talk about some different debt payoff ways. But what's amazing to look at is, and they have it on the statements, is you make the minimum payment on this card for $73 a month. It's going to take you 10 years to pay off this balance. And you're going to pay about $6,000 total for that $2,400 balance. But if you make $100 a month, then that's going to cut that down from 10 years to 3 years. So that's obviously a drastic timeline increase to get out of this debt and stay out of it. But it's kind of just shows you how 25% interest rates on credit cards can absolutely eat you alive and have you stretched out for 10 years. Next card, Capital One. We got some different transactions on here. We got AMC Theaters twice on here. So you like going to the movies. We got $50 for movies on here. We have a $1.64 transaction on Amazon. We have $11 in interest charges. And then we have Legal Shield. Is that insurance or is that legal lawyer fees?
That's that one is like my mom's will thing, and I pay it like the $20 a month. AMC is like the A-list.
You're subscribed to their A-list thing right now?
Yeah.
Cancel it. You don't even spend $2,500 a month to go to the movies when you got $102,000 worth of debt. There's like no justification for it. Even if you tell me it's self-care, it's soothing, whatever you want to tell me right now, because that $2,500 is the difference.
Wait, you're saying $2,500?
$25.
Yeah. Okay.
That $25 is the difference of making the minimum payment on your Amex versus paying $100, which is the difference of paying off in 10 years or paying off in 3 years. So by you keeping that AMC membership, that is 7 years of your credit card pay period that you're just foregoing. And you're like, I'll just keep it for 10 years minimum payments versus cutting it down. So, and that's across all your cards, whether it's this card or it's another one you're putting that towards. That $25 when you have this much credit card debt is going to go a long way. And right now you shouldn't be spending on things that are nice to haves. Yes, I want you to enjoy life and I want you to have fun, but go to a friend's house and watch Netflix with them if they have an account or whatever for a movie. But spending $25 on a subscription for a movie theater is just prioritizing fun over getting out of debt. I'm assuming we're going to see a few other transactions like this in here. Another Amex. Is this the same card?
It's probably like two different months, probably. One might say July and then the other one says August.
No, this is this might be actually just the transaction. Okay, these are the new transactions. So you spent $400 this month on this car. Oh, what did you buy at Walmart for $237?
Well, this is Amex,
yeah.
Right? Food, hygiene stuff, and then house cleaning.
That's a lot of money on food, hygiene, and house care products when you got $120 at Target 2 days later. What was the Target for?
The Target one? Hold on, I'm trying to remember now. I threw out the receipt. Target. You said it was for 100 something, right?
120.
If I remember what Target was for. Target was me just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna spoil myself because I usually don't spoil myself. I had gotten some clothes. Like,
you can't be doing that right now.
I know, and I haven't been doing that since I was on medical leave, right? But it was like at that point I was just like, I don't spoil myself, and I'm like, all right, just whatever.
You're just building yourself a further hole by doing that.
I know.
And spending money.
And I was telling myself this too. I'm like, you don't need it.
You gotta prioritize yourself in the long term. And Target in this instance is that short-term satisfaction, but it's just prolonging any solution, any debt payments, payoffs, because you're prioritizing you in the now versus, hey, you want to see long-term results. And so between that Walmart, obviously you need to have hygiene products, you need to have food, but $237, I'm assuming there's probably $50 that we could cut out that was not necessities, if I had to guess. And then we got the Target 120. It's $170 that...
Yeah, it could have been like maybe $30 I would have spent if I didn't end up buying the clothes.
Yeah.
Because I did need more like hygiene products, which is why I went to Target to see if they had what I needed. And then I saw the clothes. I'm like, you know what?
That's at least $170 again that could be going towards paying off debt. So that and the AMC stuff right there, $200 towards paying off some of these different debts. And right now you need every single dollar that you possibly may have to be going towards these debts because of these interest rates. Just stuff that you need to think about and decide what's a priority in life. Is the priority in life to get out of debt, or is the priority in life to enjoy now? And frankly, a lot of people right now have the mindset of, hey, I want to enjoy now. I don't care about the debt. I'll make them on payments. And that's why we have $1 trillion in credit card debt in America right now. Because people prioritize spending in the now and not their financial future. And that's putting you years behind when you spend like that and you find yourself in debt. And so right now, you're the one that can decide this is, hey, do I want to put up these parameters now that are, I'm going to not spoil myself on X, Y, and Z. I'm going to throw every dollar at these different debt payments so I can actually enjoy my life in the future. Because the last thing I want you to do is wake up when you're 37, just be paying off some of these or have further debt. And that won't be a fun life to live for the next 10 years. But if you prioritize the short or the long-term health of yourself and financial health, and the next 2 years is, hey, we're going to eat rice and beans and we're going to not go to the movies. We're not going to buy new clothes unless you literally have holes in your shirts. You're not going to go shopping, spend $100 at Target. You're going to be able to do that. And then your long-term self is going to thank you for that 10 years from now and be able to get out of debt a lot faster. But right now, prioritizing spending like that is not helping you financially. So other bank account, we have a lot of deposits, about $3,400 in deposits. It looks like coming from Cash App. I see your brother's payment on here, and then it looks like some of the medical leave stuff. So brought about $3,500 in last month between all these different payments.
Yeah, and that's the most I've made since like getting on medical leave. Cause months before I was like worse. I think it's also because I had more coming in. I think that's part of the reason I was like, let me do the Target thing. Because usually, like I said, I don't like spend a lot. Like even with food, I'm probably the most stingiest person when it comes to food. Like I won't buy.
You're like getting $75 worth of groceries that you put on there.
Yeah, I know.
But you got to be stingy for now because you have to. Let's talk about bank account that I see. We got Chick-fil-A, eating out of Chick-fil-A for $12. I love Chick-fil-A.
What you got?
Chick-fil-A on the 28th. It looks like your normal bank account, your debit card.
Oh, okay.
Chick-fil-A shouldn't be eating out right now. Everything should be at home, eating as cheaply as possible while still getting nutrition and food that you need. But eating out is not helpful here. What is this Divinely payment for $90 on July 31st?
My wax lady.
Wax lady. Okay, so personal care, spending $90 a month. Is there cheaper ways to do that at home?
I mean, technically shaving is just, the shave technically messes up the wax pattern, or else I would have cut it out. Like I would have just shaved, but I didn't want to mess up the wax.
I'm not a girl.
I'm serious. I'm serious.
I've never done wax before, but definitely something that need to be evaluating. Hey, is this something I can do at home for the next 12 months until I get out of debt? But just, again, finding areas that, hey, what can we prioritize in our life? And then we have 2 payments for AFFIRM. What are these? We got an AFFIRM payment for $39.31 on July 31st. Then we have another one for $53 on July 31st.
The AFFIRMs are like past purchases that I made like prior to me not being on medical leave.
Like 12-month payment plans they are?
Yeah, I think they were both from Amazon.
What were they? It's like a $600 in a
Christmas.
You bought Christmas presents using AFFIRM?
Yeah.
That's not smart. And in any world, whether you had a full-time job making $100,000 a year or in your current situation, if you have to use buy now, pay later to buy Christmas presents, I mean, that's $1,000 worth of Christmas presents right there. And it's not like this debt's new. This debt, you've said you've had a lot of it for years now with your partner. So you spent $1,000 on Christmas presents.
No, you said my partner. I said my ex.
Sorry, your ex-partner, yes.
Yes.
But still, you've had at least probably $30,000 worth of debt over the last 2 years between a lot of stuff and the student loans, more than that, honestly. And you spent $1,000 on Christmas presents. And again, that's prioritizing friends, family, whoever you buy those gifts for over yourself. And you shouldn't be buying gifts for people if you have $100,000 worth of debt. And AFFIRM is just that's a line item that we don't even have on the balance sheet right now of another debt, because AFFIRM is a debt you owe AFFIRM, whether it's a 0% interest rate or not. Those payments destroy people because you're like, oh, I can afford it. And maybe when you had your full-time job in January, yes, you could have afforded those monthly payments, but circumstances change. That's why you want to have as minimal locked-in payments, whether it's a car payment, whether it's student loans, whether it's credit cards, because that just locks you in a guaranteed payment plan that you're going to have for 6 years or 5 years if it's a car loan, or AFFIRM is going to lock you for 12 months. And circumstances change. Life happens, emergencies happen, and then you're like, oh, I thought I could afford that $400 car payment. You lose your job, you can't afford it anymore. So the best thing to do is if you can't afford it in cash, whether it's a car, whether it's Christmas presents, don't buy it, because it's just setting you farther back. It's taking out that cash flow. I mean, if you didn't buy those Christmas presents and you paid what you could cash at that point, maybe you only spent $200 on Christmas presents at the time, then that's $80 a month that could be going towards paying off this debt. But instead, it's going to pay off their firm payment. And buy now, pay later, frankly, it is one of the best things in terms of getting people to buy things they can't afford, because it's like, oh, I can afford a $40 a month payment. Realize 9 months later that you wish you had never signed up for that. So please, please, please do not ever use the firm payments ever again. We got lifetime on here, $20. I'm all for going to the gym, all for taking care of yourself. That's not something I'd ever even you use it?
I do. I was actually there the other day.
I was going to say, you use it, keep it. If you don't use it, cancel it. But sometimes gyms are very difficult to cancel, and people just keep them on there because it's so difficult to cancel. But if you use it, helps with self-care, helps with just livelihood and health. Identigo, what is that? You got your fingerprint scanned on?
Oh, that was for the school nursing thing. I needed to get fingerprinted.
Okay.
So I had to pay for that because they weren't paying for it. So
okay. Cube Smart, we got the storage unit for $83 a month. How long have you had that storage unit for?
Since I'm gonna say 2016.
2016?
Maybe.
So
it might have been
7 years basically of that right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the monthly payment of this just basically doubled every year, gone up 30% every year.
Before it was like 60, maybe 62 starting out, and then it went up. So
in Atlanta, I know like storage units have tripled, I think, in the last like 3 years, which is insane. But I mean, that's $1,000 a year right now that's going towards that storage unit. Is there anything in that storage unit you can sell? Because obviously you're not using it if it's been there for 7 years.
Right. I mean, some of the stuff I go in and put it back and then take some out, like winter
what's
stuff.
In there?
Some stuff is clothing. I have stuff from college. I could definitely sell some of the books for sure. I really do need to go through it. It's just going in there, it's like it feels creepy. It's just so dark, and it's like the lights going on. Like I want to go in there with someone. Say it again.
It says overwhelming because moving is one of the worst things ever. Is having to move things out. It's intimidating. It's a long process. It's not easy, and that's why storage units they've locked you in for 7 years. I mean, you've paid them over probably about $7,000 over the course of that, and you're going to pay them $1,000 a year moving forward, and it's going to continue to go up. And given your current financial situation, that is an easy thing to get rid of. It's not going to be easy to go and sell it all, but it's a line item that we can't get rid of the credit card payments. We can't get rid of the car loan tomorrow. Right. I mean, we could sell the car. But that is $83 that could be gone to probably, it might take a week or two to sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, wherever it might be, get rid of it. But that should be hopefully hundreds of dollars of selling stuff and $83 a month back in your pocket that can be going towards paying off this debt.
Yeah. I've been wanting to be able to get rid of it. I know I just really need to go through everything that's in there. Because I know some stuff I'm definitely going to throw out. Then like I said, some of the books I'll probably try to sell it, see if I can get anything from it. And the other stuff is clothes, like winter clothes and summer clothes. That's just, there's not enough space in my apartment for me to keep. So I feel like if I could go down to an even smaller storage unit, but I don't even think the storage unit, the storage place that I have now.
At this point, with $100,000 worth of debt, you need to get rid of that storage unit. You need to sell everything in there that's not a necessity and that doesn't fit in your apartment. Because if it's not valuable enough to bring back to your apartment, that means you don't need it. Because I'm sure most of it there's been sitting there for at least 12 months, minus some clothes.
Yeah, I feel like thinking about what's in there now, there's at least 2 things that I wouldn't sell because they have sentimental value.
Were they fit in your apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. You can keep those 2 things and you can get rid of the storage unit then. Solution, $83 a month back in your pocket that can be going towards paying off this debt. Are you going to do it? That's the question.
I'm going to go through the stuff for sure. I do need to find someone to go with me because like I said, it's a little creepy in there. But I'm definitely going to go through it and sell some stuff and get some stuff like Salvation Army because I do want to get rid of it.
Yeah. Okay. Rest of these transactions, I see different transfers. I see payments to pay some stuff off, web payments, Target for $2.99. Acorns. Are you investing right now?
That one I've had for a couple of years. I was thinking about just taking whatever is an Acorn, just I guess withdrawing it and putting it in my account. I don't even think it's that much. I think it's a couple hundred, not even. But I started doing that in 2019, and it's like the coins one where it adds up your change or something like
Yeah.
that.
For Acorns, I use it personally. I think it's a great app and a great platform to use for investing, for Roundup that they do, and it really shows you how investing now can help grow into a big tree. The issue is right now, when it comes to investing in Acorns, investing in anything is not going to beat credit card interest rates. I mean, right now, your credit card interest rate is 25%. The average return of the S&P 500 is 7 to 10%, whether you want to account for inflation or not. That is drastically lower than 25%, and there's obviously risk with it as well. So investing should not be happening until you're debt-free because of...
Pay down,
yeah. So what I would do in this instance is, if you have $300, $400 in Acorns, is sell it all, put it back in your bank account, cancel that transaction. Yes, it's a $3 a month subscription. It's not much, but you shouldn't be investing at all right now when you have this high of interest rate payments. And say you have $300 in there, that can be going towards paying down your Capital One card that has $470 balance. Obviously, you will have to account for taxes on it. So say if you put in $200 and it's worth $300 now, you're going to owe capital gain taxes on that $100. So it really just depends on what your gain is on that. But something to look at and see, so you can set that aside, make sure you have it for taxes next year. It shouldn't be a large amount if you only have a couple $100 in there, but something to be mindful of. But I'd be putting that money towards paying off this debt, because that would open up more cash flow when we can help kind of pay off some of this debt. So let's talk about debt payoff. Do you know the difference between the avalanche method and the snowball method?
What was the first one?
The avalanche method or the snowball debt payment method?
I don't think so.
Okay. The avalanche method is when you tackle the highest interest rate loan first. And so if you have, we'll say, two different loan amounts, one's 25% interest rate, the other is 10% interest rate. No matter the balance, you would go after the one that has the highest interest rate first, so the 25% interest rate, because you're paying more interest on it.
Gotcha. That's actually what I was doing then before.
So
I just didn't know it was called that.
Yeah. So that's called the avalanche method, going after the highest interest rate. The snowball method is you list your debt payments from smallest to largest, no matter the interest rate on them. So in your instance, if you have the $400 Capital One payment is a $400 balance versus your Ashley card, which is $5,000, or your TD card that's $7,400, you would pay the minimum payments on all of them, and every extra dollar would go towards the Capital One. That's $400. Pay that off first, and then you roll up to the next biggest balance and the next one. The snowball method is great because it helps get you momentum going, and you pay off one card and you're like, okay, great, I can do this. Let's do the next debt. Then let's do the next one. And you start getting a lot of momentum, and it opens up more cash flow because you're paying off the minimum payments a lot quicker. That will open up $25 a month or $50 a month towards it, and helps you build a lot of momentum quickly. So psychologically, I think it is better than the avalanche method. Frankly, with your situation, I think either way, you'll probably end up in about the same spot, because your credit cards are the lowest balances. And then we have the personal loan, then we have the car payment, then we have the total student loans. Student loans are definitely broken into smaller balances. But given those interest rates, I would probably put those, just keep paying the minimum payments when those resume, figure out what's the payment there, and I would tackle these other loans first because those are the lowest interest rates. But if I was in your shoes, I would go the snowball method of paying these off, because with the credit cards and the personal loans, because yes, say your Capital One card is a $400 balance and the interest rate is 25.99%. If you have another card that's at 28%, I would get rid of this Capital One card first, just to get some momentum going. You open up that minimum payment. And I mean, this Capital One card, between the $300 that's in your Acorns account, the $83 in your storage unit, and whatever you can sell in that storage unit, you can pay off this Capital One card by the end of the week. Basically. So that would open up $25 more a month in your minimum payment. And that could then be going towards attacking the Amex card that's $2,400. And then once you do that, then you go after the Ashley card at $5,200. And you start getting a lot of momentum that way, doing those, making those payments on the smallest loan amounts first, and then working your way up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'll go the snowball method with that and prioritize it as the credit cards, lowest balance to the highest balance. Then I would go the personal loan, probably, and then I would go student loans. And I mean, that doesn't include the car payment. The car payment, I'll definitely figure out too, how you can start taking that over from your mom as well, because it's your car, you drive it. Mom shouldn't be paying for that. You're 27 years old.
I agree.
And want you to be in a spot where you can financially do it. And it's not going to be an easy process to cut out going to Target, cut out the storage unit, cut out AMC. But that's hundreds of dollars right there a month that could be going towards paying off these loans a lot quicker than if you're spending that money on non-necessity things. That is how I'd go about paying off the debt, is credit cards first, then attacking the other debts after that. Doing the snowball method, because psychologically, I think that will give you a lot of momentum. You're like, okay, once you pay off all these credit cards, paying off the student loans, paying off the personal loan, paying off that will be a lot easier, because like, okay, I've just paid off $15,000, $16,000 worth of credit card debt. That's the highest interest rate stuff. So you start throwing those minimum payments, the credit card minimum payments at these other debts, you're going to pay those off really quick. So that's the side of paying off debt, in terms of don't focus on investing, cut everything out on that side. But the number one thing that you can do to help yourself in this situation is, first, obviously, just get yourself healthy. Figure out how can you get back working full time, because you're not going to be able to throw a lot of money at these debts every single month when you're on medical leave, when you're getting less than half your paycheck, and the school nurse stuff is inconsistent, and it's obviously not as high paying as your other job. So number one is figuring out how can you get yourself healthy. Obviously go to the doctor, listen to them, whatever they have to do with that. But that's number one, because with your income, if you're making $100,000 a year, given the budget and everything we talked about, if you're spending $4,000 a month, you should have $2,000 a month that can be going towards paying off these debts. So that's $24,000 a year going to paying off these loans. Yes, you have $100,000 worth of debt. If you're healthy, if you're able to pick up more shifts, you don't have to just make $100,000 a year. You don't have to do the bare minimum on that. You can be working overtime, picking up shifts, make an extra $20,000 a year, picking up a lot of overtime shifts, because I know they're needed. I know there's a lot of overtime shifts needed in the hospital.
Sure. I get an email every day saying, we have overtime available.
Yeah. So you gotta have, once you get healthy, you gotta be hustling on that to be making an extra 10, extra 15, extra $20,000 a year, because you can get out of this in 2 years. I think easily doing that. And it just takes you being healthy, number one, because you can't work every single day of the week or 5 days a week or however much overtime if you're not healthy. Exactly. But once you are healthy, then you have to really get after it working, and every single dollar you make needs to be going towards these loans. So number one, get yourself healthy. Number two, start figuring out your debt payment calculator schedule, and I'll see some different tools on how to calculate that using the debt snowball method. I think that's the best route to go, just psychologically and just momentum wise. But that leads me to, you can't just put on a spreadsheet your debt payment thing. You have to have a plan within, that's budgeting. And I'm assuming right now you don't use a budget app, you don't use spreadsheets to track all your expenses.
I do.
You do? Okay.
I write it out. Like, so I have like a form of like the budget sheet that you sent me before, but I've noticed I mostly like just write it out in my planner every month. So I write out all of basically everything that like coming out. So I write down like the loans, the TD credit card payment, Con Edison, National Grid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's coming out for that month. How much it like the minimum payments, or like how, if it's like the TD credit cards, I'd write down 7,400, blah, 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 how much the minimum payment is. And then like if I'm making the minimum payment, or if I'm making more than the minimum payment, I write down the date it's due, with the date I actually pay it, and what account it's coming out of. And then I write down like underneath that the amount of money that I'm bringing in each week or day or whatever. So I would just keep adding that up. And then this other side is like my expenses that I make for the month.
Okay. So you're budgeting, which is good. Obviously, I don't know when you started budgeting, but I have to just make sure you have everything under control and tracking everything. And I personally like using online platforms. There's Mint. I use mint.com. There's Copilot. There's EveryDollar. There's all these different tools that you can link everything to it, and it automatically tracks it for you, categorizes it. You can find transactions that you might have missed or not realize, hey, I spent $300 last month on Target or shopping. I need to cut that out. But it helps just visualize that too. So budgeting really is important here. Because you have to have a plan to get out of debt. You can't just waltz your way out of it. So I'll see some resources and stuff on budgeting too, platforms that would be beneficial to look at. And then with that is figuring out how to cut costs too. I mean, right now, the biggest line items in your budget, most people's budget, apart from the payments, are your rent, which is $1,500 a month. And with your rent coming up in November, I know it's not fun getting a roommate, but I would look at your options with that. Can you get your rent payment down to $1,000 a month? Can you get it down to $900 a month if you have a 2-bedroom apartment, sharing that with someone or a friend or someone you find online from different platforms? If you get an extra $500 a month that goes towards just payments, I mean, that's $6,000 a year. It's not a small amount of money. And it doesn't have to be, hey, you're going to rent for the rest of your life with a roommate. It's, hey, for the next year or next 2 years, so I get out of this, I'm going to be cutting my costs at all costs to be able to do this. And what you can do is play with the debt calculators too, is, okay, if I do rent with a roommate and I can save $500 a month, what will that do to my debt payment process, payoff process. Will that speed up by 6 months? Will that speed up by 12 months? And you can play with those types of things, and that might visually incentivize you to, okay, maybe I should consider having a roommate. If you're working full-time, making $100,000 a year, maybe you don't get a roommate. But it allows you to visualize, okay, November, I'm still not working full-time. I need to cut my costs at all costs. Maybe this is all I do for the next 12 months. And if I'm working full-time and I've made a lot of progress on my debt next year, maybe I can afford to go back to a $1,500 a month place. So that's one thing I'd definitely look at, especially with your rent lease coming up in a few months. Play with your options. What does that do to your payoff schedule? And then the other thing is a car. You're in New York. You're in Queens. Do you need a car in Queens?
I do, because I work in Long Island. I don't work in Queens.
There's no train?
There's the LIRR. That's not far from me, but like I don't know what train would take me to the hospital I work at. And then like with the school nursing thing, it's like different schools on Long Island. I enjoy the convenience of having a car. I've barely had to use public transportation unless I was going to like Manhattan for like certain auditions for like the entertainment stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And even with that, for certain locations, I'll drive to the location unless they provide us transportation. But then I would take the train to Manhattan, and then they provide the transportation to wherever else we're going.
I don't disagree. Having a car is nice, but you also are in the best city for public transportation to get from point A to point B. And obviously working on Long Island, there's definitely trains that go in and out of Long Island, because a lot of people commute from Long Island to the city every single day. So that's not currently an expense of yours because your mom's paying for your insurance and your payment, but that's $700 a month that you could cut out, and also cut out of your mom's budget by getting rid of it. So again, these are just options I'm putting out there. Those are your two biggest expenses that are ones that you have the ability to change. And if your car balance is $20,000 and your car or your loan balance is $20,000 and you could sell the car for $23,000 or $22,000, that's $2,000 that could be going towards paying off this debt as well. And it's not, hey, I'm never going to have a car again. But again, it's just trying to think, how can you get out of this debt faster? And the different levers you can pull right now are getting a roommate, cut the expenses there, getting rid of the car so it's off your mom's account and off yours, and maybe there's some equity in the car. And then 3, storage unit, cut that, $83 a month, getting the stuff in there sold, hopefully a couple $100 at least there, and then cut other unneeded subscriptions, the AMC stuff, Target spending. I mean, these are different levers and things that you can look at in your spending that are ways that you can function and live without them. Yes, it's not the most convenient life having a roommate, not the most convenient life taking public transportation, not the most convenient life having to sell stuff out of your storage unit, but it will greatly propel your debt payment payoff. And I just want you to look at and analyze and see what these options are. What are you willing to do? Obviously, I can't convince you to do one or make you do it, but want to at least show you that you have options to, between the rent, between the car payment, car insurance, that's at least $1,000 a month that could be cut off your monthly expenses by getting rid of all of that. And that's not a small amount of money. It's $12,000 a year going towards debt. And that will help speed up your process greatly. And instead of $2,000 a month going towards this debt, if you're working full-time, making $100K, that could be $3,000. And that's, again, going to help drastically increase and speed up your current process. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the main things is like, 1, get yourself healthy. That's first and foremost important.
Right.
2, while you're not fully able to work, you need to be budgeting everything. You need to be figuring out your financial plan of debt payment, payoff. How can you be living below your means in terms of your current income and your current expenses? What can you cut there? 3 is just with that budgeting, cut costs at all costs, because you have $100,000 worth of debt. You got to figure out the roommate stuff, the car stuff, the storage unit, and just get your spending under control there. So the beautiful thing is you're young and you're 27 years old, so you have a world of time on your side, and it's just figuring out getting yourself healthy. Then you're going to be able to get out of this. And I wouldn't even think or consider investing. Don't even think about that right now, because your interest rates are so high, because you have $100,000 worth of debt. There's no reason to even consider investing, worry about it until you get all this paid off, because it's not going to outperform then just on these accounts. And you're not even paying for all your expenses right now because your mom's paying for your car payment. So don't even worry about any of those things until you get all this paid off. And student loans also haven't even resumed. So I know that once you get healthy, you will have the income to be able to get out of this. It's just more of a getting yourself healthy, and in the meantime, figuring out what's actually important in your life between some of these expenses with stuff that you can cut, and getting your spending under control. So, but I know you can do it, and I want to be a resource to you, and I hope this is a kind of eye-opening conversation, or at least like learning that you realize, okay, there's different ways to pay out this debt, or how I can be out of this in a few years, but I want to be a resource for you. And if you have questions, or if you ever, someone tries to get you to take out a personal loan to go buy whatever, if you have a new partner that says, hey, let's take out $10,000, please email me and I'll tell you not to do it.
No, I won't do it. I already know. No, definitely not. Like, I've learned my lesson. I take accountability. I blame him, but I also take accountability because at the end of the day, I decided to do it. But I feel like I also had to do it to survive at the same time. But so I take accountability. Like, it was me making that decision to do that, because I was in a great place before that. Yeah.
Well, I got a couple last questions for you.
And
can you tell us the moment that you realized you're in financial trouble?
Last year, was before I started working as a nurse, and I was still living with the ex and seeing just being lazy, basically. And I'm paying for every single thing, and he's basically living off of me for free. Was probably the time I really realized how bad my situation was. But then it was also, I wasn't going to let it, I guess, get me down, because I feel like a lot of people would let it get them down. I was seeing the numbers, I basically cut out everything that I could, and the solution was I just needed more income. So, and I was working as much as I could at the time. At the time, I was still working at a hospital, but just not nurse salary.
Yeah.
I was working as much as I could at that time. So I feel like that's when I really saw it. And I saw all the numbers. I had gotten a financial advisor through the military. And she was showing me the numbers, and she was basically saying, I just need to find a way to make more income, because she never talked about the car, but like, I feel like the car is the hardest thing. I probably won't let that go, because I can't. The other stuff, like, I thought about a roommate, like with my best friend. We had actually talked about it like a couple months ago. But yeah, so I wouldn't mind that. The storage unit I could definitely get rid of. The car, yeah, most likely keeping that.
People are very not willing to give up the car.
No, because I feel like that's also going to make my life harder, because it's like, right now, like I said, I work in Long Island, look for basically everything. And then with the doctor's appointments, all of my doctors are in Long Island, and it's like, to get to all the different ones, it's a lot by public transportation. And I didn't grow up really taking public transportation. I was always, I guess, driven. And then there's the few times I have taken it, but I've never fully, I would say I never took it on my own, but I have taken it on my own. But that's only to Manhattan. Like, I know a certain route to get to where I need to go. Sure. It was like, I enjoyed the luxury of having my car. I'm grateful to have my car.
And I understand that. It's a tough thing to give up, but you also have to decide, what are you willing to give up to get out of $100,000 worth of debt? And it's what's more important, the car or paying out the debt quicker. And that's only something you can decide. And again, it's plugging in the calculators. What is an extra $800 a month or $1,000 a month going to do in terms of debt payoff? Because who knows, your mom might call you one day and say, hey, I can no longer pay this. And then that financial burden, you don't have that financial burden on yourself right now because you're not paying it. But I can promise you, your mom called you tomorrow and said, hey, I can't pay this anymore. You're going to rethink that car, because you're going to see that $700 a month coming out of your bank account that you don't have right now.
Like, I thought about the insurance thing, and I was actually thinking about that the other day, because I'm able to see all of my mom expenses. So I know, like there's times it's like, dang, I really want to take this off her plate, but it's also, I can't right now.
You can't afford it.
Yeah, I told her, like, at the beginning of the year, I'm going to take the car stuff off your plate in a couple months. And then in a couple months, the medical stuff happened, which she doesn't know about, because, like I said, she's also sick and she worries too much. So as far as she knows, I'm still working.
Yeah.
My hospital job, she knows I have the school nursing job, but she doesn't know that was because I can't work the hospital job right now. Yeah. So,
and it makes sense. Don't want your parents to worry. Don't want your mom to worry. And because moms worry a lot. So, don't want to stress her out.
Yeah.
But, what advice would you give to someone in a similar spot to you?
I would say I definitely stay positive. But like I said, I feel like seeing the numbers could definitely take a toll on you mentally, but just like trying to stay positive and not giving up, like, I guess, hope that things, or like knowing that things will get better eventually down the line. You just have to change certain things up, and like definitely have a budget to get organized for sure, because being unorganized and trying to get out of debt, I don't see how that works. At least not for me personally.
It doesn't work. You're not going to walk your way out of debt with a blindfold on.
Right. Let me see what else I could. You do have to have sacrifices. I know that for a fact. Just see what you're willing to sacrifice, what makes sense for you, even if it gets worse, what you're willing to really sacrifice. Like, if God forbid stuff were to get worse, I would obviously sell the car. But like, I feel like it's not worse. And I don't want it.
It's pretty bad right now.
So.
It's
It
not
is,
as
but
bad
it's
because
pretty worse.
you're not making those payments. But if you had to take
Right.
on those car payments, it'd be pretty bad. It's very
Yeah.
bad right now, but it'd be very, very bad if you had to take on those car payments. So
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you also just kind of got to suck up your pride. Cause like July, I like told one of my brothers that I'm like really struggling. I'm on medical leave. My like what I'm bringing in as to what's going out isn't helping. I told my best friend that too, and last month they helped me make ends meet, which I'm very grateful for. And like for me, I don't like to ask people for help, so like it took a lot for me to do that. And then my oldest brother, like I said, who owed me a couple thousand. Like I don't know, I guess I was like just very not like trying to, I guess, beg him for the money. Like I was letting him take his time because he also has like 6 kids and a lot of responsibility. So I knew he had a lot of stuff on his plate, but I was like, you know what, I really need the help. So I let him in as to what was going on. And he was like, oh, definitely have to start paying it off now. I'll let you know every time that I'm gonna get paid and when I send it to you. So he's been helping me out.
And that's an important part too of this is like, it's difficult to do this alone. And whether it's your best friend, whether it's your brother, whether it's you want to email me and we can have more conversations, but like you need an accountability person. You need someone that's cheering you on, because it does get demoralizing when you see an amount of $100,000 worth of debt and no one knows about it. You're trying to put on this face of being happy and you're stressed. So it's very important to let people in that you can trust and you know that they're going to be supportive for you. You don't want to let people in there like, oh, don't worry about the debt, whatever. But if your best friend knows about it and she's cheering you on and she's like, I'd be willing to be a roommate with you so you can save more money that you can put towards his debt, then like open up to those people and allow them to be accountability people with them. Maybe it's setting up a weekly budget meeting with your best friend and you help her with her finances. She helps with you and you can kind of tackle that together. You help each other learn. Or if you want accountability, I'll send you emails every single month and say, hey, how did your budget turn out this last month? What are you working to? What's your debt payment stuff? But it really comes down to, it's very difficult to do it alone without any support. And you got to find that circle that, whether it's one person, whether it's 2 people, whatever it is, that can be your cheerleaders during this, because it's not an easy thing to go out alone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Vica, well, I'm really appreciate your time today. Really appreciate you coming on here and being open and transparent about your current situation, current finances. And I'm wishing you all the best in getting healthy so you can get back working full time and then start attacking this debt. You can't wait until you're healthy to start figuring out a plan for it. Maybe you're not going to be able to make as much of payments towards this debt, but you still have to currently figure out your plan, figure out your budget. What can you cut? What can you do to pay more than just the minimums on these payments and start formulating a plan on that sense? But I wish you all the best moving forward. I'll send you resources. If you want to do check-ins, please let me know. I'm here to be a resource and help. And I'm hoping 6 months from now or 12 months from now, we'll be able to have a follow-up conversation where we see where you're at then and hopefully working full-time, hopefully attacking this debt. And again, just really appreciate your time coming on today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.